Welcome back, everybody. This is the Bluechip Breakdown, and I'm your host, Bull. Happy Monday to you. This is now a rivalry week versus the Florida Gator, so y'all better be excited and ready to dive deep into this matchup. We'll be starting off today with Tennessee's defense versus Florida's offense. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, let's take a look at these stats first and foremost. Florida's total offense is ranked number 60 in the country. They're getting 411 yards per game, 6.99 yards per play. Tennessee's total defense is ranked number 2, only allowing 227.6 yards per game and 3.81 yards per play. As far as the scoring numbers, Florida's scoring offense is ranked number 62. They're scoring about 30.2 points per game. And as far as sacks given up, they're ranked number 20th, which is actually pretty good. They're only allowing 1 sack per game. We'll kind of go into why here as we break down this whole matchup. Now, Tennessee's scoring defense is ranked number 4. We are only allowing 9.4 points per game. And as far as how many sacks we're getting as a defense, we're currently ranked number 90. We're only getting 1.8 sacks per game. We know that some of that has to do with the teams that we played earlier in the season. The ball's coming out quick. We're going to see a whole lot of that versus Florida as well. Now on to the passing numbers. Florida's passing offense is ranked number 35. They're getting about 268.6 yards per game, and they are completing passes at almost 72%. So again, we're going to talk a little bit more about this as we, get through all this stuff. And they're also getting about 9.6 yards per attempt. They have 9 touchdowns and 5 interceptions through the air. Tennessee's passing defense is ranked number 15. We're only allowing 159.6 yards per game, and we are allowing passes to be completed at 60.3%, giving up 6.33 yards per attempt. We've only given up 1 touchdown, and we have 2 interceptions. On to the rushing numbers. We all know this is going to be so important for every single game, but even going back to the 90s, it was like whatever team could rush for more yards whenever it was Florida versus Tennessee typically won those games. Now, things have changed some, but I still kind of feel like that's the formula to win any ball game, but especially in a big-time rivalry game. So Florida is ranked number 83 as far as rushing yards on the season. They're getting 152.6 yards per game, 4.6 yards per carry, and they have 11 touchdowns on the ground. Tennessee's rushing defense is ranked number 2. We're only allowing 68 yards per game, 1.97 yards per carry, and we've given up 3 touchdowns on the ground. I think that's just a little bit too much, for my taste and how I feel like this defense should be playing. On to the third down numbers. This is also going to be very, very important. Florida's ranked number 76 in this category, only converting at 39.2% on 51 attempts. Tennessee's third down defense is currently ranked number 1 in the country. We are only allowing 22.1% on 68 attempts. Now for the red zone numbers. Florida's ranked number 47. They are scoring at 89.5% in the red zone on 19 attempts. They have 10 rushing touchdowns, 5 passing touchdowns, and they have 2 field goals. Tennessee's red zone defense is ranked number 12. We are allowing conversions at 69.2% on 13 attempts, 3 rushing touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown, 5 field goals given up. Now for the final one, the turnovers. Florida is ranked number 71. They've given up 5 interceptions and they have lost 2 fumbles. Tennessee's turnover defense is ranked number 69, so very, very close right here. We only have 2 interceptions, but we have recovered 5 fumbles. Now let's take a look at Florida's key players on offense, starting off with the first quarterback. Graham Mertz is going to be number 15 on their roster, 6'3", 216 pounds. He's a redshirt senior. On the season, he's 61 for 79. That's good for 77.2%. That's incredible. Now, he has thrown for 666 yards. I did not fudge with those numbers. That's actually what it is. That doesn't look good. I mean, you would think, hey, bring him in for one more play or, something so that we can get those numbers fixed. But he does have 5 touchdowns on the season, 2 interceptions. Now, I'll call him Captain Checkdown because he ain't going to throw it to anybody unless they're wide open, especially down the field. Now, if they are wide open, then he will hit them, okay? He's a very, very accurate thrower of the football, but he can also run. He doesn't do a whole lot of that. He likes to stay back inside of that pocket. But with Florida's scheme, man, people get open and they get open quick. It's going to be a ton of RPOs, read options, things like that. But, he does operate their offense, I would say, not as explosive as it can be, but he's going to manage it very, very well. I would prefer for him to be the quarterback that is playing for most of this game. Now, the next quarterback is going to be DJ Lagway. He's number 2 on their roster, listed at 6'3", about 240 pounds. He is a true freshman on the season. He's 38 for 55. That's good for 69.1%. So both of the quarterbacks are going to be very accurate. Again, that goes back to their scheme. He has 667 yards so far on the season. So if you go back and look at Graham Mertz's numbers, you see that he's actually thrown and completed more passes than DJ Lagway. That's kind of, back to my point about Graham Mertz is more the check down guy, where DJ Lagway is more of a baller. He's not afraid to throw the football down the field and try to fit it into some of those tighter windows. But he does have 4 touchdowns to 3 interceptions on the season. But, again, he's a guy that I worry a little bit more with. Now, he can also use his legs, doesn't use it as much, but he's more that X factor where you can have things, pretty much covered up, and you can't necessarily anticipate exactly where the ball is going to go like you can with a Graham Mertz, because he will try to fit it into some windows down the field. So I think that he could give Florida a little bit more bang for their buck, just in certain situations. And he's not going to get as many series probably as Graham Mertz. It's really all depending on how the game goes, I guess. But I have seen here lately that Graham is getting the bulk of the snaps. So we'll see what Florida does in this game where they switch that up. But I think that they've got 2 quarterbacks that are going to be very accurate within their system, but it's just the tale of one guy is going to be a lot more of a game manager, and then another one could be more of that game breaker. So we'll go on to the next player who's going to be a running back. His name is Montrell Johnson. He's a junior. He's number 1 on their roster, listed at 5'11", 216 pounds. And he is a senior. I think I said that he is a junior, but he is a senior. So his name is Montrell Johnson Jr. He has 58 carries on the season. That's good for 288 yards, 5 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. He also has 12 catches for 56 yards with no touchdowns. I like his game. I would say he's probably about like an average SEC running back. He's got pretty solid size. I think he has good straight line speed. Within their scheme with some of the RPOs, with some of the zone blocking, all that type of stuff, he does a good job of kind of pressing that line of scrimmage, putting his foot in the dirt, getting vertical, getting up the field. He will run hard, but I've also seen him kind of fumble trying to finish some of his runs. So hopefully we can, maybe turn him over some. That would be the hope, but it's not a whole lot for, I don't think us to be too concerned about with. He's not going to be better than the running back that we just saw last weekend by any means. It's just a guy that you got to, find him, tackle him, things like that. Just basic fundamental stuff. We'll go on to the next player right here, who is going to be a wide receiver. His name is Elijah Badger. He's number 6 on their roster, listed at 6'1", 192 pounds. He's a senior. So far on the season, he has 17 catches for 346 yards, good for 20.4 yards per catch, and he has 2 touchdowns. Now, he's the player that I've seen them try to stretch the field out with a little bit more. They will try to use most of their guys to kind of stretch the field out vertically, but he just seems to be a little bit more consistent doing that. He runs really good routes. He has good speed, things like that. So we have to make sure that we are staying on top of all the routes with him. They'll also use him in a lot of different spots. Same thing can be said about all their wide receivers. We'll see a whole lot of pre-snap movement, motion, things like that. So he could operate from the slot. He could operate, from the outside, some deep crossing routes, some go routes. We'll see all that, okay? So we just got to make sure, again, that we're staying on top of the routes with Mr. Badger. Now, on to the last player that we'll be talking about today, another wide receiver. I don't know exactly how to pronounce his name, but I'm going to take a crack at it. I think it's Shimmery or maybe Shimmeray Dyke, and he's number 17 on their roster, listed at 6 feet tall, 195 pounds. He is a senior on the season. He has 15 catches for 277 yards, 18.5 yards per catch, and 1 touchdown. Now, I think that he operates a little bit better with some of the intermediate stuff. He runs beautiful, beautiful routes, okay? Y'all are kind of like looking at this stuff now. I love the, route combination. I love the route concepts from this team, and I think that he's tough. He's going to make those tough catches. He also has really good speed. I don't know what Florida does. I don't know if it's their jerseys. I don't know exactly what it is, but it just seems like since I've been watching them play, they always just have these really smooth, fluid wide receivers every single season. They're all at about 6 feet tall, sometimes a little bit shorter. Now, they do have some taller guys, but I'm just saying if you go back through time, and he's going to be another one of those players, just really, really smooth. So we're going to have to make sure that we have really tight coverage. I think that our secondary is definitely going to get challenged more than they have this entire season in this game. Now let's take a look at Florida's blocking grades from Pro Football Focus. And y'all know that I take the grades with a grain of salt. We're going to be focusing more on the pressure numbers, what they've given up, things like that. So right here at the top, number 66, Jake Slaughter, he's going to be their starting center. He's had 150 pressure opportunities, and he's only given up 1 pressure. So that's really good. He's at 99.7. The next player is going to be number 65. His name is Brandon Crenshaw Dixon. He's going to be their starting right tackle. He's had 126 pressure opportunities, and he's given up 3. So he's at 98.8. And we'll come right here to their starting left tackle, Austin Barber, who's had 123 pressure opportunities. He's given up 4. He's at 98.4. We'll skip the wide receivers because those don't really matter. This is going to be their starting left guard right here, number 77, Najee Harris. He's had 108 pressure opportunities. He's given up 3, so he's at 98.6. And right here, number 70, Damian George Jr. He's going to be their starting right guard. He's had 109 pressure opportunities. He's given up 3 for 98.6. Now, outside of all their starters, so first and foremost, you can tell that their starters are doing a good job not giving up pressures. Some of that's going to have to do with their scheme. We'll get into that here in just a minute. But let's take a look at some of their backups, because I have seen number 75 come in. I believe his name is Cameron Waits. He's had 63 opportunities. He's given up 5, so he's at 96%. If he does come in at right guard or at either one of the guard spots, he's one that hopefully we can get some pressure on. And then right here, we have Bryce Lovett. He's going to be another one of their guards. He's only had 50 opportunities. He hasn't given up any pressures, so he's at 100%. So you can tell, man, that they do a pretty solid job. I mean, just, even looking at their tight ends, some of these guys, I would say that it's pretty decent. It's not great for the tight ends, but I think that this is a pretty solid offensive line. All right, now that we know Florida pretty well on paper, let me tell you what I've seen from them on film. Starting off up front, I found it interesting that just looking at their measurables from their roster, it looks like they have great size, but whenever I see them on film, they don't look as big. They look like, and maybe they're just carrying their weight well. I don't know that that's a huge deal. They're probably just going to be an average SEC offensive line as far as the size and all that type of stuff. What I have also noticed is that they're going to be quicker than what we saw from Arkansas last weekend, but probably not as strong at the point of contact. So, styles kind of make fights. You don't always have to just be maulers, and really even, I never really saw Arkansas necessarily moving our guys, maybe just a little bit, but they were able to wall us off more. So that could kind of play into Florida's hand versus our defense, because we like to get vertical up the field with our front four. So it'll be interesting, man. Like with all the RPOs and all that type of stuff, the front four on defense for us are going to have to be very fundamentally sound, not as much with, keeping things inside, but just with maintaining their gap, not getting lost with all the misdirection and stuff like that. As long as they can just kind of take up blocks, which I think that they can, hopefully the linebackers can roam. Now, whenever you talk about, Florida's offensive line and pass protection, I think that they look pretty solid, but the main thing is Florida operates, man, they want to get the football out of their hands really, really quickly. Again, going back to the RPOs, which is a run-pass option, we know that with Graham Mertz, he's probably going to be Mr. Conservative and go to the run more times than he goes to the pass. And that's kind of, that kind of shows up in their stats, because they are a 60% run team to a 40% pass team. I think a lot of that just has to do with Graham Mertz being conservative with the RPO game, which is what they do more than any other running scheme. So we'll see a whole lot of, zone blocking, inside zone. We'll see some outside zone as well. I think that we'll be able to hold up from that perspective. But again, just talking about that passing game, I think that this is a situation where Tennessee really only needs to try to bring 4, because the ball is going to come out quick. They're going to do a whole lot of mesh concepts, crossing routes, hitches, things that can get the football out of the quarterback's hands very quickly. So bringing pressure may kind of just open up some spots for them to throw the football to, instead of actually getting that pressure. Now, we will bring some blitzes, but it's going to be in very opportunistic situations. So our front four is going to have to be dominant up front. Like, they're going to have to be able to get pressure, the stunts, all that type of stuff. It's going to have to work. This is a game that I would not mind seeing Tennessee maybe doing a little bit more drop 8, only bring 3. It just would make sense with what Florida likes to do, especially if our front four can get the pressure without having to bring anyone else from the second or third level. So, moving on back to the second level, let's talk about our linebackers. It's going to be critical in this game because, as we just touched on, we'll see a ton of misdirection stuff. Florida changes their formation, I'm going to say at least twice before every single play. It's going to be a whole lot of motions. It's going to be a whole lot of shifts. They do that a ton. So we're going to have to be fundamentally sound and understand who's doing what on each play. But once the ball is snapped, you'll see that, motion here, the ball goes back there, just a whole lot of misdirection. And Tennessee is, historically, or I'd say over the past few seasons up under Coach Banks, we have not done a good job of stopping misdirection stuff. That's why Florida has found so much success versus our defense. I felt like coming into this season, we had gotten so much better at it. It looked like it until that Arkansas game last weekend. Our linebackers were all over the damn place. They're going to have to be way better this weekend if Tennessee's going to have any chance to slow down what Florida likes to do on offense. Really, man, if you go back to their Arkansas game, almost every single play that Arkansas had success with is just like a normal play inside of Florida's offense. They run that on every single play. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, the linebackers are going to be critical in this game. They're going to have to be up to the challenge. We're going to need for them to play not just well, but I think great. Like, we're going to need for them to step up in a very, very major way for sure. Not just in that run game, but in that passing game too. You can't just be covering air, because Florida's tight ends, their wide receivers do a great job of sitting things down in that zone coverage. I saw a whole lot of us just covering grass with our linebackers last weekend versus Arkansas. Can't happen here. It just can't happen because Graham Mertz, we're seeing he's throwing 77%. That number will go up to like 85 in this game, which is probably not far from what it was last season and the previous seasons too. So either way, right, we've got linebackers are going to be critical in this game. Hopefully they will be up to that challenge. Now, outside of that, man, whenever you look at Florida's wide receivers and, you're looking at their tight ends and stuff, they don't use their tight ends as much in their passing game, but they've got some good athletes at that position. So that would put some more stress on our linebackers, on our safeties, on our star players, whoever's going to be guarding them. But, it's going to be more about those wide receivers. Again, man, a whole lot of crossing routes, a whole lot of double moves down the field. We'll see that a ton. And they like to do that with the isolated player. I've seen that primarily with 3 wide receivers on one side. They'll have another wide receiver on the other side isolated in what pretty much has to be man-to-man coverage, and that double move's coming. So you got to stay on top of those routes. And what I've also noticed, man, is that with the routes, with the passes that go down the field, somehow Florida's just able to get it down there quickly. Like they're able to do that off a 3-step drop. So it's going to be fast wide receivers, beautiful route concepts, great route combinations that, just work. So this is going to be our biggest challenge for sure. Okay. I know that people, again, think that Florida just sucks. And I think that a whole lot of that is going to be more due to national media and not really watching them play. But if they play with that confidence, this offense can present a ton of challenges to Tennessee. So what would I expect from Tennessee's defense from top to bottom? I think that, we touched on this with our front four, probably only going to be bringing them for most of the time, unless it's a situation where, okay, hey, look, we're going to take this away from Graham Mertz, and then we're going to try to funnel him here, and then we can bring the pressure from this side. Things like that. Like that's when Tennessee will and probably should blitz. But I would expect, a whole lot more cover 2. Tennessee's run primarily one high looks. So we're talking about cover 1. We're talking about cover 3. Most teams are going to be, running those types of coverages these days. But I think that in this game, it makes a whole lot of sense to try to go some more 2, maybe some 4. You'll probably see some cover 3 seam, some cover 3 cloud for sure. Try to mix up those looks, stem some, right? Just to give some different looks pre-snap and just try to confuse those quarterbacks. Hopefully that would kind of slow them down from just, get the ball, throw it, because that's pretty much what they do. So, I would expect a whole lot of movement pre-snap from our defense, just like they're going to be a whole lot of movement pre-snap for their offense. Maybe we can throw them off there and just try to sit on a whole lot of those underneath routes. And, maybe just have 2 safeties deep, which, again, cover 2, just to keep them from being able to hit those, long passes, those, big shot plays, things like that. And, this is a game that if Tennessee comes to play, if Tennessee plays discipline, if Tennessee plays Tennessee football on defense, then we will have success. Okay. We will find some success. But, I think that this will be a frustrating game. We just have to get off the field on 3rd down because Florida does a great job of, hey, 1st down, 2nd down, we're, getting small plays here and there. And then they're in a good, third and manageable situation. So Tennessee has to get off the field on 3rd down. If we can find opportunities to get some turnovers, things like that, we've got to do it. But, I think that our guys are going to be up to the challenge as far as the secondary and man-to-man coverage down the field. I think that our guys can definitely handle that. No one that just absolutely terrifies you. Yeah, they've got some really good talent. But again, man, this is typical SEC. This is what it's going to be pretty much for the rest of this season. So we got to start getting used to that, man, and we cannot shy away from this challenge. But hey, it's a big-time rivalry game. Hopefully the crowd will play some sort of a factor in this game. I know that Neyland's going to be rocking, okay? I know that we want this one bad, man, and I think all that Florida juju will end this weekend, but we'll get to that later on in the week. But those are my thoughts. Please let me know yours down in the comments section. As always, please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. We'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.